Stop scrolling right now, because what I am about to say will sound like blasphemy for the next 30 seconds. And then it will sound like the truest thing you have ever heard. You are the second copy of Jesus, not a fan of him, not a distant admirer clapping from the back row of history. A copy carrying the same spirit, printed from the same image, authorized with his own divine power. And before you close this message to guard your humility, understand something. That's not my sentence, it's his. He said, "Those who believe in me will do the works I have been doing and even greater works than these." He also said, "The kingdom is not outside of you, but inside of you." That's why this question should keep you up at night. Why does your life seem weak if you have his power? What's the deal with your prayers seeming to hit the ceiling? How come you can feel everything but not change much? This difference does not prove that the copy is fake. Proof that the copy is no longer plugged in. And in a moment, I'll show you exactly where the disconnect happened, where the power line was cut 3 times, and how each one is fixed. You worship Jesus from afar, so the enemy was never scared of you. He is scared of the moment when you realize who you are. Type the word, copy, in the comments, and then get ready to hear something you were never meant to hear. Hold on. If this message hits home for you, click the like button right now. That's how you start the flow of God's favor in your life. Just agreeing with me opens the door for heaven's blessing to pour into your life. Let me start by showing you proof that this message is really mine. Acclaim this big needs proof. And that proof has been hiding in plain sight your whole life. 5 of them will be held up to the light. They have marks that follow the line of the image. Make a list of how many you know. You feel what other people feel, even if you don't want to. The mood lands on you like rain when you walk into a room. When a stranger sits down next to you, you know right away that something is wrong with them, before they even say a word. This is something that people have said about you your whole life, as if it were a flaw. It's not a mistake. Because you were copied from someone compassionate. This is what it does. The same current that made him stop in the middle of a crowd, when he felt a desperate touch among many. The second mark. The rooms are quiet when you finally speak. You don't talk very much or very often, but when you do, your words carry weight that you didn't put there. You saw it happen. There is a lot of noise and opinions in a conversation. After you say one sentence, something changes. Strangers look at you as if the sentence had nothing to do with the conversation. Yes, it did. Words bear the mark of the person who wrote them. And yours come from the same source that said things no one had ever heard before. The third grade. You've been attacked in ways that don't make sense for someone like you. Tell the truth about this. Your life has been full of opposition that doesn't match how visible you are. People in this world never thought of you as famous or powerful. Even so, betrayal, sabotage, and storms all found you in a way that felt personal. This is the reason no one told you. The other side never responded to who you seem to be. It had to do with what you carry. No one gives an empty vessel that much resistance. If you look at the 4th mark, you'll see that the broken ones. Kids will calm down when they're near you. Hurt people you barely know will suddenly tell you about their deepest pain minutes after meeting you. Strangers say, "I don't know why I'm telling you this, but there is a reason." Sheep can smell the shepherd's copies even though they are copies. The healing current can be felt by something in the hurting, and it has been feeling it in you since you were a child. The 5th mark is that you can't lie about your life, no matter how much easier it would be. Some people can just shrug, give in, play the game, and go to sleep. You can't. Something inside you burns until you return when you stray even a little from what you know to be true. That burning isn't stress. It's called calibration. A copy is made with the original standards etched into its very core. And yours have been protesting every fake version of you that people have tried to put in. You are not listening to this by accident, if you had 3 or more of those marks. You're ready for the question below the mark. Now that you know they are real. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link in the description, or the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site, you are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give, and it will be given to you, is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose, join the conversation, and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today, join our community, and see what God brings back into your life. So what does it really mean to be a copy? Because the word sounds almost mechanical, but what it means is the most holy thing that can happen in the world. Go back to the story's first page. Let us make man in our own image just like us. The first word, there, is the same word that ancient kings used to put statues of themselves in faraway provinces that they couldn't visit in person. People saw the statue as an extension of the king, even though it wasn't the king himself. It had the power of the king and was seen as present. It was an attack on the throne to damage the image. That's what picture means. Not a decoration, but a presence with a duty. People have been meant to be living examples of what their king is like from the very beginning of the Bible. After that, the picture was harmed. You already know that part. The link was tainted, and the resemblance was buried by generations of fear and separation. But heaven didn't give up on the plan. Heaven fixed it up. And this is where the language gets amazingly clear. The writers of long ago did not say that Jesus only came to forgive you. They said he was the first child of many brothers and sisters. The firstborn of many. That phrase breaks down the 2,000 years that separate you and him. A firstborn child is not a group of one. Someone who is born first is the first print in a line. It is said straight out in the letter to the Romans. God planned ahead of time for those he knew would become like his Son. Shaped, pressed into the same mold, and printed from the same source. The only goal of your redemption was never just to forgive you. Forgiveness opened the door. The destination was the same as before. You are not saved so that you can watch Christ forever. You were saved so that you can become a living copy of him. You will be the second printing of an image that the world was meant to keep seeing after he rose. Because of this, he was able to say the strangest sentence in the old record, the one that preachers try to avoid. "It's better for you if I leave." Just think about how crazy that sounds. That was much better than walking next to the original. He said yes, because if I leave, the Spirit will come and won't walk with you. You will hold him inside you. God the Son walked the roads of a small country for 3 years. But copies with the same Spirit could reach every street, every generation, and every country at the same time. It was never just one candle in a dark room. The plan was for fire to pass from one flame to another. Each new flame has all the qualities of the first one. Fire doesn't go out when it spreads. The second flame is not less bright. The fire is still there, but it's in a different spot. Know what is being said, and what is not being said when the title of this message calls you the second Jesus. You're not the first one. You didn't die for the world, and you can't carry anything by yourself. That pride is kept at bay by the word, copy, which means, pointing beyond itself. Listen to the other side too. It's likely that your religious upbringing kept you from hearing it. You are the same in this world as he is. You can find that sentence in your book in the present tense. If you want to get better, you can't go back to how you were. You are what you are now in this world. The record says that the same Spirit that raised him from the dead lives in you, not visits you. The copy is real, it was picked out, and the print was made. That shaking you feel when you hear this is not fear. Honor is what it is. If this makes you feel something, please click the subscribe button right now. When you subscribe, God's prophetic promise and alignment will come true in your life, locking you into the path he has planned for you. Now for the pain. Just because I know what's been going through your mind as I talk. Why is my life the way it is if all of this is true? If I carry his Spirit, his image, and his power, then what is wrong? Why am I tired, unappreciated, stuck, and broke? Why do I pray like a king or queen but live like an orphan? I feel the power sometimes, in flashes, during certain prayers, and in some rooms. But I can't hold it, walk in it, or make it stay. First, I want you to hear something. That question doesn't rule you out. That is the most important thing for a chosen one to ask. And the fact that it burns in you is proof that it's a copy, since that kind of frustration can only come from someone with real power who is being blocked. Someone who doesn't have any electricity in them, doesn't feel anything when the lights go out. Of course you can feel the contradiction, because the current is pushing against something that won't let it go. Here is the picture that will help you understand the rest of this message. Think of the most advanced machine that has ever been made. It was full of features that its creators didn't fully understand. Being still in the middle of a room, not making a sound, not being broken or fake, not missing any parts, and not being plugged in. Everything that the machine was made to do is still there, and can't be done. The connection to the source is broken, for the smallest and easiest to fix reason. That's you, chosen one. You've been that person for years. This is the hair without the plug. A person who inherits everything and doesn't pass anything on. And an unplugged hair suffers in a way that no one else does, because they know what they carry, but see their life as not reflecting it. This changes everything. For an inheritance problem, a court would have to solve it. It would take a lifetime to fix a problem with worthiness. But to fix a connection problem, all you have to do is find the points where the connection broke and fix them. And 3 times, the line was broken between what you carry and what you live. I'll show you all 3 in the order they connect, because that's how they work. The first cut is in what you know. The second cut is in how much you value yourself. The third cut is in the physical instrument itself, in the biology of the mind, that is supposed to send the signal. This is the one that almost no one in the spiritual world talks about. When we get to the third cut in this message, I'll tell you about something that was found in research labs that shocked me when I first understood it. Something that explains why so many true believers connect the first two cuts but still live in a fog, lack power, and feel empty. Hold on to that. We do each cut one at a time. Before we start the three cuts, there is one question that needs to be answered. You can already hear it in the back of your mind. Why have I never heard it preached this way? If this is what the record really says, why did it have to be this message at this time in my life? If you know the history of that question, the first skeptical voice you meet won't be able to take away the revelation. Look at how the first copies behaved. They didn't build monuments and get together to remember things. When they walked into cities, those cities changed. They talked to blind people like men carrying keys. They were not called an audience by the watching world. The record keeps the accusations of their enemies, and it is beautiful. The people who turned the world upside down have also come here. That was how ordinary copies were known within one generation of the original. People who fish and build tents are moving through the empire like fire through a dry field. Then, slowly over hundreds of years, something changed. People who watched turned the faith of the participants into their religion. There was glass over the fire. The people who carried the images were rearranged, so that they were now image admirers, sitting in rows and watching professionals handle the holy things from a safe distance. Please understand that this is not an attack on the church. The gathering of copies is valuable, and the original cares about his people. But at some point in the long history, a lie that was never told fell like dust over the pews. The lie that the power belonged to a different kind of person. To the saints in the paintings, to the professionals on the platform, and only to the original, who was safely enthroned far away so that his pattern could be worshipped without having to keep going. In 1,000 small ways, the dust turned into doctrine. We kept a record of what we were supposed to get. Every week, we celebrated his works while agreeing in silence that expecting them from us would be too much. We took, as he is, so are you, in this world, which was a present tense promise, and made it sound like a dream. The enemy of the copies didn't even have to burn a single page of the record to do it. He only had to teach people how to read it without taking part. People who thought the words were about someone else were still hearing them read out loud every Sunday. These were the words that once turned the world upside down. That's why this message had to come to you the way it did. Not because the truth was lost, but because it was put away. And heaven always brings back truth that has been put away just when a generation needs it. This happens in every part of the story. In the old language Chiros, there is a word for that. Not clock time, but appointed time, the fullness that makes something that has always been there impossible to avoid. Look at the time you live in and tell me this isn't true. There is a generation that is drowning in fake everything and is dying for one real experience. Every month, people lose trust in institutions. Millions of people are lost in fake spiritualities, because the copies carrying the real current have been sitting in the audience, without realizing what's inside them. The world has already chosen an argument that is better. It's clear from the record. What God has made is eagerly waiting for the children of God to be shown. Found out it wasn't made. They are already there, it's not better. The print job is done. Found out, on, shown in the middle of everyday life. And you are not getting information now. At this point in your life, after all the years you've been through, and the things you've been through, you are being called to action. You and I don't decide when things happen. Things happen at the right times. And the fact that this truth is reaching you now means that the time for you to live it has already come. That might land somewhere deep. Type the word, Kairos, in the comments to show that you heard the call and didn't scroll past it. Also, I want you to share this word from the prophet with your friends and family right now. Sharing this message with your network will bring about a breakthrough and set off the anointing. You literally bring the power of this moment into the lives of those who need it most when you share. Now the real work starts. And now that the summons is here, the only question that matters is why the power is still not going through. Now we'll talk about the 3 cuts. The first cut is the cut of knowledge, which is the war's oldest strategy. You can't act in a role that you don't know you have. From the garden until this morning, the main goal of the darkness has never been to kill the image bearers. It can't damage the picture. Its goal was to keep the picture from the people who carry it. The province will never know about the king if you make the statue look like it is just a piece of stone. Take a look at how the plan has worked in your own life. Every person who told you you weren't special. Every system that used numbers to rate you, that had nothing to do with what you carry. While they meant well, every religious setting taught you to grovel like a worm, when the record calls you an heir. There's something about church life that not many people are willing to say out loud. We learned over and over again to admire Jesus. The pattern he used with us wasn't taught to us very often. We put glass cases around the fire, instead of letting the flame go through them. So, for generations, copies have lived and died as spectators, cheering for the original from seats he never asked us to sit in, while the things he promised to do stayed unfinished. The plan is so clear that even the tempter in the wilderness can see it. Please pay close attention to how he began both of his attacks on Jesus. If you are the Son of God, if the first thing that was used against the original was to hurt their identity, not their behavior. Because the enemy knows a law that most Christians never learn. Identity is where power comes from. Stop knowing, and you'll never have to worry about what to do again. The first time he tried it, it didn't work because Jesus had just heard the Father say, "This is my beloved Son." The second time, it mostly worked because most copies have never heard who they are clearly. You are getting that cut fixed today. That which is sealed in the heart can't be unknown. And you now know it. It's not enough to just know something, though, there's more to it than that. The cut of being worthy. At this point, I need to be quiet, because I'm about to touch the wound. At some point, you came to the conclusion that this can't all be true about you, even if it is true about everyone else. You know your flaws. You know the years you wasted, the words you wish you hadn't said, the times you failed, and the struggles you had behind closed doors. So, without saying it aloud, you put yourself under damaged copy. You were thankful to be saved, but you couldn't carry anything as powerful as his chosen one. I need you to look at who was picked the first time. He didn't hire well-groomed people. He hired a grumpy fisherman who would later curse at him 3 times when he told him no. They were a tax collector that everyone in town hated. Everyone who doubts, deserts, or fails in politics is a political extremist. And he told that group of damaged files, "You will do greater works." He printed his first copies on purposely flawed paper, as if to settle the question of worthiness for all future generations. The paper had nothing to do with the power. Based on the print, it was possible. Also, think about the time when the print was approved in you. He used a very business-like phrase when he said from the cross, "It is finished." When bills are paid in full, the word merchant is stamped on them. Not partially settled until you get paid for your work. In other words, every time you don't get your inheritance because of your past, you are quietly saying that his payment wasn't enough. That's not being humble. Please hear this with all the love in the world, chosen one. It's not humble to turn down what he bought for you. It's not believing that's dressed as humility. Real humility doesn't run away from what you've been given. True humility takes everything as it is given, doesn't take any credit for it, and uses all of its power to help the person it represents. Today is the last day of the second cut. You are not the broken copy. There are no copies that are broken. Copycats are the only ones who still can't get over the fact that they were printed on human paper, which was the printer's choice. Just let go of something in your chest. Type "paid in full" in the comments. Take charge of your life with the second reconnection. The third cut is now time. I need you to lean in, because this is the disconnect that almost no one in the spiritual world talks about. And that's why a lot of Christians do everything right, but still live dull lives. You can understand who you are. You can think you deserve it. Even so, the power still has to go through a real thing. What you know is spiritual. Your value is set in heaven. But you're seeing, hearing, discerning, and making things happen. The moment-to-moment transmission of divine current into decisions on earth is done by the most advanced piece of hardware in the universe. The copy of the human brain sends the signal, but the signal needs a place to go. Finally, here is the hard truth about our generation. Your whole life, the receiver has been under attack. I want to stop and hold something in front of you before we go on. Research labs have found something new in the last few years that most people who care about the things we've been talking about have never heard of. That it came from a direction most of us weren't looking in doesn't mean it goes against what is holy. A doctor in New York who has spent decades studying the mind led a small group of neuroscientists who found something about the way the brain was built that explains why so many spiritually awakened people still can't send what they carry. Something so basic that it goes all the way back to a Nobel Prize, and so easy to use that it seems almost fishy at first. After you fully understand what this third cut looks like, I will tell you exactly what they found. Put this question on hold for now. What if the fog that keeps you from your power isn't made of spirit? What if something was taken from the instrument? And what if you can get it back? See what the copy looked like right after it came off the press to understand the third cut. Go watch the kids pick one. Pay close attention to them. A child believes without having to try. A child makes something up and lives in it, until it seems more real than the room. A child asks questions that can't be answered, makes things without being told, can tell what every adult in the house is really feeling, and changes their mind 100 times an hour between logic and wonder. That's not being silly. That's the picture working at full transmission. That's also why the first one said something that should have changed the way we see everything. You will never get into the kingdom unless you change and behave like little kids." He didn't say act like kids. He told them to act like them again. In other words, he was pointing out something that kids have but adults don't. This is where the results from the lab and the old words meet. Researchers who looked into creative abilities found that about 98% of young children think creatively and connectively at a level that the researchers called genius level. When the same test was done on adults, less than 1% were still there. Take a seat with those numbers. The receiver is fully charged on almost all copies that come off the press. The person reading this message, and almost every adult you know, has turned it off. Not by sin, not by not being good enough, and not by the grinding machinery of modern life. You learn to memorize things in school instead of being amazed by them. The screens were made to break up your attention into pieces. The noise, the stress, and the fear. Year after year, decade after decade, slowly separating the two sides of your brain from the state. They were meant to be in sync with each other. Because that's how it works, and it's important. The mind is made up of two parts. One part speaks, thinks, and arranges things. One that thinks, feels, and connects. There was never a plan for one side to win. Synchronization was the plan. Both halves firing together as a single drum. The child lives in that whole state. They found this to be the reason for what they call flow. Those times when inspiration and creativity flow through a person without them having to work hard at it. Pay attention to how the old language agrees. Analysis by itself was not the old word for the deepest kind of knowing. It was like the head and heart were one. The prophets got messages in the form of pictures and songs, not spreadsheets. The whole mind working together has always been the tool of revelation. You can now finally say what went wrong. The first cut covered up who you were. The second cut hurt your worth. The third cut, on the other hand, physically threw off the timing of your receiver. This meant that even after reconnecting the first two, the current still only reached half of the instrument. That's why you can really believe and still walk into fog. Why revelations happen in quick bursts right before bed and are gone by morning. Why you can feel the call but can't make up your mind to answer it. The heir is willing. The inheritance is now paid off. The receiver is not plugged in. This chosen one is the part of the message where everything I've said makes sense, because the loop I started earlier is now ready to close. I told you that scientists found something. This is what they found, and this is why I had to wait. Because a fix is only useful if you know what the issue it addresses. I think you fully understand it now. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history, it is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. Neuroscientist Roger Sperry won the Nobel Prize in 1981 for research that showed the two hemispheres of the brain are separate engines that are meant to work together. The way they are connected affects everything a person sees, hears, and makes. His work started a new field, and since then, a group of neuroscientists led by New York City neurologist Dr. Daniel Barron have asked the question that everyone reading this cares about. If modern life throws off the balance between the hemispheres, is it possible to bring them back into sync? It took years of clinical work to get their answer. They took more than an hour of clinical neural sync technology, the kind of whole brain activation protocol used in specialized settings, and turned it into an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence that you should listen to every day with your eyes closed and headphones on. That's the only thing that's needed. The smart switch is what they call it. It's not an app for meditation or keeping track of your mood. A specific sound sequence built on Nobel Prize winning research to connect the two hemispheres and bring back the state of brain activation that you were in naturally as a child. The state that the first person meant when he said, "Become like little children." And if you've tried the tracks that get played on big stages and didn't feel anything, Barron talks about that right away. A lot of them only focus on small parts of the picture. A multi-layer protocol that was worked on for years makes what his team built work at the level of the whole brain. Different mechanism, different type of outcome. Let me tell you what other people say about it before I say anything else. A woman from California had tried everything that her town had to offer: reading, writing, and meditating. She took every word at face value, but she couldn't feel the truth in them, not in her body or in her days. She looked at her own life through a window like she was a stranger. She said that after 10 days with the sequence, a channel that had been closed for years became open all of a sudden. It wasn't because she worked harder. The receiver had been fixed. As a man from Texas held everyone else together for years while his own life fell apart, he said that prayer felt like talking into a wall. After 2 weeks, he woke up and said that his mind was finally filled with everything it should be filled with. He had stopped calling it fog because it was always there. In that way, it feels when the third cut ends. Picked one, not fireworks. Clarity, the soft hum of an instrument plugged back into its power source. I want to be clear about who this is for now, because it's not for everyone. The genius switch is for the chosen one who knows that God not only prepared the inheritance, but also the way it will be passed on. The honest person who has worked hard for years to fix their knowing and worth, and who is now ready to stop seeing fog as a flaw in their character and start seeing it as something with a real address. A lot of people will scroll past when they hear this. They have come to terms with the fact that their mind is only half powered for good. You're still here, this far into a message about who you are. That isn't a mistake. That's the kind of determination that this was made for. How much does it cost to fix the receiver? When Dr. Barron's co-workers looked over the protocol, some said that even $500 would be fair, since neurofeedback in person costs about $300 an hour and home systems cost thousands. Don't think it came out at $500, $200, or $100. It came out at $49, but today, through the page linked to this message, you can get an extra 10 off for $39, which gives you access for life, and gets sent to your email right away after you decide. They also come with 4 gifts: a guided visualization from a top-rated creator on the Calm app that takes your mind through the 4 rooms of a life that is back together. I want money, love, health, and happiness. This smart grocery guide shows you 10 common American foods that are linked to brain fog and gives you tips on how to save time and money at the stores you already shop at. There is a free classic manifestation text that is more than 100 years old and the basis of much of what is taught today. There is also a beautifully designed infographic of the 5 habits that protect a reconnected mind that you can print out and hang somewhere. You will see it every day. Also, pay close attention to this, because it tells you everything you need to know about the confidence behind the work. Every dollar is protected by a money-back guarantee that stands behind it. You can listen once or 80 times. Every dollar you spend will be returned to you if it doesn't help you in the same way that it has helped over 18,000 regular people. There are no terms, conditions, or small print. They are the ones who take on all the risk, which is exactly where a reliable tool puts it. Just one honest word before I shut the door. It's not stress either. It's the math of the spirit. It doesn't make the power you carry stronger to wait, but how it gets sent depends on how the receiver is set up. Every year that the instrument stays out of sync is a year that the copy stays below its printing. What has been planned for your life is not on hold, because heaven is holding back. Some of it is just waiting for someone to receive it and know what it is when it comes. Also, be careful if you search big platforms for something that has a name that sounds like this one. The group looked at what's going around and found that most of it just has the label on it, without any of the mechanism. The mechanism is only in the thing that his team made. Only the direct page has been checked, and that's where the link below takes you. If it speaks to you, it's in the description below this message, and in the comment that was pinned. Their page has everything laid out. Before you decide anything, read it all. The tool doesn't stand in for God. That doesn't mean you should not obey. And it can't make you more like Christ, because you already are. There was never any tool that could stop what God was doing in you. But a tool that heals the receiver makes what God is doing land in the right place more often. We are now going back to the deeper part of this message. We haven't answered this question yet because there is one more. It could be the most sensitive one too. If you really are the second copy of Him, and carry His Spirit and power, how should you live? Every Tuesday, what does a plugged-in copy do? Here's where a lot of bad teaching goes in one of two ways. One mistake makes you cocky, strutting around like you're in charge of everything, but your character stays the same. The other mistake, which people hearing this make much more often, pushes you back into the shadows. You're so afraid of being proud that you bury your talent and call it a burial with reverence. The first one had a story about that servant, and it didn't end with cheers. The original walked a third path, which the plugged-in copy copied every hour of his life. Keep an eye on him. He never used his power to show off or promote himself. He wouldn't turn stones into bread to feed himself, and wouldn't jump off the temple to get praise. Every miracle went to someone else through him. The crowd of hungry people got more bread. Controlled the storm for friends in the boat who were scared. A copy only has one direction of power. It goes out to help those who are hurt, hungry, or lost. The flow slows down when you try to aim it at your own throne. It floods as soon as you pour it out. Also, pay attention to the other secret in his pattern. He kept pulling away. He took time to be alone with his Father in quiet places before every big project. He went to a place by himself very early in the morning, when it was still dark. The original himself protected the connection as the most valuable thing he had, saying openly, "The Son can do nothing by himself, only what he sees the Father doing." If the original guarded his connection that fiercely, what makes any copy think it can transmit while running on noise, 4 hours of scattered sleep, and a mind it never once tunes? Your daily 8 minutes of stillness, your prayer, your quiet, these are not religious decorations on a busy life. They are the power line. guard them the way he did. Now let us talk about the sentence that has been sitting in the corner of this message since the beginning. The one almost too large to look at directly. Greater works than these will you do. He said it plainly the night before he died to the men he was about to print his image onto. And for 2,000 years copies have squinted at that sentence trying to shrink it into something manageable. But look at what actually happened when the first copies plugged in. The original healed everyone who touched him. But the record says of Peter, the fisherman copy, that people laid the sick in the streets, hoping his shadow might pass over them. His shadow, chosen one. The transmission had grown so strong through an uneducated fisherman that proximity to his silhouette carried current. Stephen, a man who waited tables in the early community, argued with the most trained minds of his generation, and the record says they could not stand up against the wisdom the Spirit gave him, and that his face shone like the face of an angel while they killed him for it. Ordinary copies, extraordinary throughput. The ceiling, he announced, was not poetry. It was a forecast, and the first generation proved it. So what would greater works look like printed through your life in your century? Let me help you see it because your imagination has been too starved to picture it. Somewhere ahead of you, there is a morning when you wake, and the fog simply is not there. You reach for the connection, and it is present, immediate, like a hand already extended toward yours. The ideas that used to arrive once a year in fragments, now arrive whole with their instructions attached. You walk into the room where you have always felt smallest, and something has reversed in the atmosphere. You are not absorbing the room anymore. The room is absorbing you. The peace you carry lands on people mid-conversation and they pause and soften, and cannot say why. Someone at your table finally asks the question their pain has been hiding for years. Because something about your presence made the asking safe. And the words you give them are not from your notes. They arrive as you open your mouth fitted to a wound you were never told about. That is not fantasy, chosen one. That is Tuesday for a plugged-in copy. That is the ordinary weather of a synchronized life. And the money, the provision, the doors. I will say this carefully because the copy does not chase gold, but watch what follows clarity. The record says the blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. When the receiver comes back online, you begin to see what was always around you. The idea whose time has come. The connection standing in plain sight. The opportunity that fog kept relabeling as risk. Provision rarely arrives as magic. It arrives as recognition. And recognition is precisely the faculty that synchronization restores. The air stops missing what the Father keeps sending. But I have to prepare you for something else. Because a plugged-in copy changes the spiritual mathematics of every room it enters. And not everything in those rooms will celebrate. The original warned his copies without softening it. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you. A servant is not greater than his master. The opposition you faced while unplugged was mostly preventive, designed to keep you from finding the socket. The resistance that comes after reconnection is different. It is reactive. It means the transmission has become visible. So when friction rises just as your clarity rises, do not read it as evidence you took a wrong turn. Read it the way generals read enemy movement. Nobody reinforces a front where nothing important is happening. And here is your defense, the same one the original used. Stay plugged in. Notice that Jesus never once argued with the accuser about his identity. When the wilderness voice said, "If you are the Son of God," he did not produce credentials or perform proofs. He answered from the written word, and stayed connected to what the Father had already said over him. The copy defends its identity the same way, not by arguing with every voice that questions it, but by returning daily to the source that settled it. Accusation cannot unprint you. It can only exhaust you into forgetting. And a copy that remembers rests. There is one more danger to name. And I would be failing you if I stayed silent about it. There are counterfeit versions of this exact message moving through the world. Voices that will tell you that you are divine on your own, a God by nature, needing no source, no original, no connection, just self-belief. Turned up loud enough. Chosen one, mark the difference, because it is the difference between life and shipwreck. A copy that denies its original becomes a forgery. The glory of what you are is precisely that you reflect Him. The branch is not the vine. Cut the branch loose to celebrate its independence, and it withers by nightfall. He said so Himself. I am the vine, you are the branches. Remain in me and you will bear much fruit. Apart from me you can do nothing. Your power is real and it is derived. Both things are true at once. And holding both at once is the entire secret of walking in this without being destroyed by it. So the plugged-in copy lives in a beautiful double posture. Chest up before every intimidation of this world, because you carry the image of the King. Knees down before the King Himself, because the image is His. The world has seen proud people, and it has seen defeated people. It has almost never seen this. The combination, the original, walked in total authority and total surrender in the same body. That combination is what made rooms unable to categorize Him. It will make rooms unable to categorize you. If you are ready to walk in both at once, type the words chest up, knees down, in the comments. Let that be your posture from today forward. I know that even now, this close to the end, there are voices negotiating inside you, and I want to answer them one by one out loud. So, they lose their power in the light. The first voice is the skeptic and it says, this is just psychology dressed in scripture, a motivational talk with incense on it. Fair enough. Test it then. The claims in this message are not mine. Image in the first chapter of the record conformed to the image of His Son in the letter to Rome. Greater works from His own mouth the night before the cross. As He is, so are we. In the first letter of John, I did not write a single one of those sentences. If the message is wrong, the argument is not with me. Take the verses into your own quiet. Read them slowly with your own eyes, and ask the one who authored them to confirm or deny. No honest seeker has ever been harmed by checking the source. That is the difference between this and hype. Hype fears examination. Inheritance invites it. The second voice is the veteran and it says, I have been stirred by messages before. Every time. 2 weeks later the fog swallowed it all back up. I have cried at altars, made declarations, and bought journals. I respect your scars, veteran, and I want you to notice something about me. Every round before this one was about what you believe. This message talked about your believing, your worthiness, and maybe for the first time, the physical thing that your believing needs to go through. There may have been something else wrong with the water. If the farmer waters the same field every year, and nothing grows. It could be the irrigation channels that have been broken and rerouted underground, so no sermon could reach them. You did not fail those stirrings, picked one. They were not whole. This one isn't because the loop was closed. Some of them never even opened. The third voice is different. It also whispers the oldest lie in the bunch. This works for some people. I did something that you don't know about. You have no idea what I went through. Dear one, I don't need to know because the printer already knew, and printed anyway. Remember the paper. The first time was his choice. A liar for a pillar, a persecutor for an apostle. And a woman in 7 pains for the first person to testify to the resurrection. The record sounds like a planned response to your exact whisper. It's as if heaven knew that the most true copies would always be the ones who were sure they were the only ones. The wound you think makes you ineligible is where the light is going to leave your life. That's how he's always been. Ask Paul, who said he was the chief of sinners, even though he had more revelation than anyone else alive. The fourth voice is the one you've never said out loud. There is no doubt at all. It's the fear of saying yes. Because if this is true, if you really are the second copy, then you can't keep your life based on being small any longer. And a part of you feels safe in being small. The darkness was like a place to hide. No one is expecting a machine that isn't plugged in to do anything. Chosen one, I'm not going to lie. It doesn't cost anything to say yes. The power and the cross are passed on to the copy, in the same envelope. But you already know how much it costs to hide. Because you've been paying it for years. The pain at 2 a.m. The gifts inside you are getting restless. Being able to look at your own life without being a part of it. It was never safe to be small. It was just slow, and you weren't printed for it. Give each voice a chance to finish speaking, and then answer them in the same way that the plugged-in copy answers, everything gently and from the heart. I hear you, and I'm his. There are no more arguments that can be made after that sentence, because none of the 4 voices can answer it. Accusation goes against behavior. That doesn't mean it can't belong. Now I will show you what a reconnected copy does every day, because truth without practice fades by Friday. 3 simple habits that will help you for the rest of your life, that you can start tomorrow morning. This is the first practice, which is the morning identity return. Wait 60 seconds before you touch the ground, or pick up the phone that wants to print the world on you. Let the Father print first. Say one word slowly while putting your hand on your chest. I look like him. I feel his spirit. As he is, so am I in this world. It will feel like a machine for a week, but one morning it won't. You will also notice that the day changes when it starts with the truth. The tempter replied, if you are, your mornings will answer before anyone can ask, I am. The second practice is transmission before consumption. Moving the current outward before you take anything in should be a part of every day. 1 unhurried kindness. 1 sentence of truth to someone who is getting lost in all the noise. 1 prayer over a name that came to mind. Prayed right then instead of making a promise for later. Copy stays clean by moving. Just like a river stays clean by moving. Both water and power that don't move get worse over time. For this, you don't need a platform. You need a hallway, a kitchen table, a list of people to call, and the will to be the warm point during a cold moment. The third practice is putting the instrument in sync every day. If you want 8 minutes of real silence, you have to treat them like a meeting with the King, which is exactly what they are. For some of you, that's prayer in silence. For some, it's the habit of him sitting in a quiet chair before everyone wakes up. And for the chosen one who felt something move, when the mind was brought up earlier. In what comes next, that door stays open. It's only a small step, but big changes have come from taking small steps with a clear head. Stay on time no matter what you do. His was kept before dawn by the first person. Who was the first person? I'm going to say something over your life now, before this message ends. But first, we need to take a moment to talk, because reading about reconnection and actually experiencing it are two different things. I don't want you to leave this message with just information. Just hold still for a moment, no matter where you are. Do not hold yourself up. Hold your breath for a moment and then slowly let it out. Picture something now. Think of a dark room, and picture yourself standing in the middle of it with everything you have on you. Now look at the wall of that room. There is a socket that is slightly glowing. And you have a cord in your hand that you have been using your whole adult life without realizing it. Feel how heavy it is in your hand. Every year of fog and every prayer that seemed to come back. Every time the power went out, it wouldn't stay on. This cord that wasn't connected was all that was going on. Go to the wall now. Do not rush this. When you get to the end of the cord, lift it up and plug it in. Watch how the room changes. Instead of exploding with light, it warms up, stays steady, hums, and comes to life. Feel it move from your hands to your eyes, chest, and mind. How an instrument sounds when it connects to its power source again after many years. No, this is not your imagination, chosen one. This is a practice. Tomorrow, your body will learn what your life will learn in the days to come. Put your hand over your heart, and say it out loud or in your head. I'm back online. I'm not going to leave this room the same way I came in. Take this as the seal on everything now. Thanks, Dad. Thank you for giving me the unbearable honor of the picture. Thank you for not making people watch. Your sons and daughters were made from the image of the firstborn child, and his spirit lives on in this generation. What has been keeping this copy dark, let it go now. Let go of the years you didn't know, because today is the end of them. Let go of the false humility that kept them from inheriting, because it was never humility. Let go of the shame that called itself a damaged print. The payment took care of it completely. Let go of the fog, the noise, the disorganized thoughts, and the out-of-tune ears, because the instrument is being fixed. Let go of every voice that ever said ordinary over something that heaven stamped with its own image. Let it all go away the way darkness leaves a room, when the light comes back on without a fight or a ceremony, just shine brighter. So now, chosen one, speak out what is true from the inside. It looks like the living God is in me. I'm the second copy of Jesus, made by His Spirit, bought in full, and sealed for this generation. I'm not here to watch His power. I carry it with me. My prayers are heard. My words are still true. Because He lives in me, my presence moves from room to room. I'm connected, chest up, knees down, and I'll be sending from now on. Right, I am the copy. In the comments if this message reached you today. This will be your statement to heaven and everyone who reads it. I have one last question for you. Right now, send this message to your group. Share this prophetic word to bring the anointing to life, and then tell your network about your breakthrough. Sharing this video with one person who has been living without technology is like giving them a breakthrough they've been waiting for. This is because people can tell the difference between copies, and someone in your life is waiting for the permission you just got. Stay close. You'll keep getting these messages right when you need them. The first person is proud to call you his. Act like it. Amen. You are about to enter your divine future, but remember this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary, where we discuss the Word daily and stand in the gap for one another. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." On this platform, every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and a hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall, share your heart, and as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit our community now, join the family, and see your heavens open. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected, faith-filled community at the link in the description and pinned comment, a place where divine abundance is not just a hope, but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary, where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your abundance awaits.